Hello, good evening, and it's time for business. Managing Director of the Agric Information and Communication Services Company Isoko Ghana, Dan Asare-Kyei, has criticized President Akufo-Addo's policy of modernizing the agricultural sector to create jobs and enhance food security. Minister-designate for Agriculture, Dr. Effiyi Akoto, addressing the New Year School at the University of Ghana yesterday, stated government is planning on creating more jobs in the agric sector. But speaking in an interview with Joy Business, Dan Asare-Kyei believes government must rather consider value addition policies that address the issue of credit extension as well as marketing activities in the sector.
When I listened to the Minister Designate yesterday speaking about planting for jobs and food, that idea in itself is very good. But it does appear to me it's more of a supply-led agricultural policy. Right. These days, talking about demand-driven agricultural policy. So when you supply more, support more farmers to produce more, what happens next? What do the farmer do if the product is harvested? You've got to be able to have a policy that allows value addition, that creates job, that creates value addition to everything that is produced and produced by the farmers. Right, I always talk about the fact that there are two major problems affecting agriculture in Ghana. That's credit and market. How do you address these two problems? When you support farmers to produce more and more and more and more and more, you're not necessarily addressing the issue of market, and that for me is key.
So are you saying that this very policy by the incoming administration is not value addition?
Until that didn't come out very clearly to me, so maybe the details is yet to come, but until you get to know that the plan that they have in place actually add value to all the credit that's going to be produced, that is when you actually saw the problems of agriculture sector in Ghana. Even today, there's so much meat that is produced. At the same time, you are still importing some yellow maize into the country for the poultry sector. Why do you have that kind of disconnect there? Why there's so much production at the same time, the poultry farmers still cannot use some of the meat that is produced by the farmers because of the issue of quality. So you are not producing quality maize, you are not producing quality grain. People like the poultry sector cannot take it up. So the issue ought to be holistic in nature. You've got to be able to address every other aspect of the value chain, right from production to marketing to storage to value addition. For me is really key. Technology for agriculture needs not only to be tractors. You are in this country, when you talk about technology, it's only about modernizing agriculture through the use of tractors. But it's far from that. How do you even actually register a simple farmer using mobile phones? You're talking about mobile data collection, you're talking about yield registry, you're talking about all sorts of digital tools that are available that the smallholder farmer can take advantage of and use to increase his productivity and increase his income levels. Those are the areas that you should be interested in as a country.
Meanwhile, agric workers have expressed worry about the increase in importation of cheaper food produce into the country. According to them, local farmers are, as a result, struggling to market their produce, leading to huge losses. Government has indicated its readiness to revamp the agric sector. General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Karewe, says the importation of agric products into the country is one of the challenges government has to quickly address.
We just need to have market for agricultural produce. One of the biggest challenges for agriculture is that it is difficult to predict the market at the point of production. You are left to some guesses. You are left to the after production to see whether there will be market or not. Because that market, which is already there, the domestic market, is taken over by cheap imports of agricultural produce from outside the country. So it will also require some cluster of policies to address the market access challenge for agricultural produce within the country.
And away from that, economic policy think tank Institute for Fiscal Studies is warning government not to go ahead with moves to abolish the IMF program. Joy Business understands the new administration is looking at the option of abolishing the program because it was not approved by Parliament. Sources say government is worried it might be difficult to implement its campaign promise to removing some taxes under the IMF program. But speaking to Joy Business after the Institute outlined major economic areas this government should focus on at a news conference, Director Professor Newman Kusi says the move could cripple the economy.
Most of our donor partners, will always want to see what they call policy credibility. And to them, once you have a program with the IMF, and the program has not been abrogated, even though you may not be able to meet some of the targets, you go, you negotiate, and so. They see that there's somebody who is closely monitoring, the policies and the policy implementation. So they feel comfortable in disbursing the grants that they are giving to the country. But in the middle of the program, if you go now and then you abrogate the program, I can tell you that, these are development partners are going to slow down the disbursement. Some of them will drag their feet. Some of them may not even disburse at all and wait and say, okay, fine. Let us see what this government is bringing on board first before they decide to do. So the best thing is that we've got only about 1 month and some 1 year and some 4 months for the program to come to an end. And so do what you can. Negotiate with them, do what you can, carry on with that. And that also will give you time. It will open up, the dynamics and the deficiencies of what is going on, so that after the program, you are not bound to renew it. You can then implement what you want, and that's all.
This government went to the electorates during the campaign and made some promises to them based on that they were elected. Now, if you look at what we've seen in their manifesto, more of their economic policy, is at variance with this program, this fiscal consolidation program, where we are trying to raise more taxes and cut down expenditure.
Sorry, not we can't short. This government never told Ghanaians that when they come to power, they will abrogate the IMF program. I never.
But I'm looking at the situation about taxes in relation to reviewing these taxes, right, and then also trying to spend more and more critical areas. Now, listen, I don't think the fund program will support that.
But listen, if you go to the fund now and you say that, look, we're not in favor of this tax or that tax. We want to reduce this tax. We want to introduce this tax, and so and so. Now, what the fund is going to give you that, okay, having done all these things, okay, what is the net effect? In the net, are you going to reduce domestic revenue, or by doing this, you are going to increase domestic revenue? Or having done this, domestic revenue reduces. So how are you going to find the difference?
Now, businesses that fail to renew their records or file their annual returns at the Registrar General's Department by the end of this month would now be paying a fine of 300 Ghana cedis each month of default instead of the initial daily payment. The decision was taken by the Registrar General following appeals from the business community for the sanctions to be relaxed.
The Registrar General started enforcing the directive in October last year, which compelled defaulting companies to pay a daily fine of 300 cedis. It, however, later offered a 3-month reprieve to defaulting companies. The directive will now come into force from February. But what could have also necessitated a downward review in the penalty? The acting Registrar General, Jemima Oware, explains.
We realized getting to the end of the year that because of the elections and all the various holidays, quite a number of them were still not able to get to the deadline. And we've also had a lot of complaints or requests from businesses that the penalties were quite steep. And so we went back to the Companies Act, and we realized that the penalty was 25 penalty units each day that the default continues, but it's up to 25 penalty units. So what it meant was that I could adjust it and bring it a bit lower. And that's how come we've agreed to have a flat fee of 300 Ghana cedis each month that the default continues, in addition to whatever you have incurred. So if we break it down, it's something like 10 Ghana cedis or 20 Ghana cedis each day that the default continues.
Mrs. Oware is also impressing on companies the need to update their businesses in the new electronic database when filing their annual returns. She began by saying they are satisfied with the compliance among companies so far.
It was really effective. Straight away, quite a number of businesses realized that we were really serious this time, that we're bringing in the penalty regime, and it's been very good. I've been able to get quite a number of businesses filing their returns and being updated into the new database. Let me say this. It's one thing filing the annual returns. The other issue is to ensure that your business is updated into the new e-registrar database, because anybody who wants to do a search on you online would want to ensure that you are in good standing. And that is the only way you get into the new database. And so if you just come and pay those monies and don't ensure that you've been updated into the new database, I'm sorry, it's just half of the work done, because that takes some time. You need to ensure that all your directors have the new tax identification number, the TIN that we've been talking of. And based on that, you know, many people have issues even with their shareholding structure.
Businesses, especially sole proprietorship entities that do not renew their business names, would have their business names rendered inactive in the electronic database from 1st February this year. This means such enterprises would not be able to make any changes or update any records on their business names.
And that's all in business for tonight. Many thanks for watching, and let's meet again tomorrow. My name is Emmanuel Ampouaji. We have a good evening.